South Africa is just another failed African state. This is an article we're going to read by an author from the Sowetan Times. And it's just sad, man. A lady who I know sent this to me. She's a native of South Africa. Thankfully, she's white, lives in the States now. And believe it or not, I got a number of South African clients who live stateside, thank the good Lord. But only an ignorant fool would not have recognized what was going to, I think it was de Klerk, was a de Klerk, and Mandela had the Reconciliation Committee and all that, Truth and Reconciliation Commission. If you just paid attention to Mugabe and Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, you could have seen this happen a mile away. Mandela did a pretty good job of keeping the lunatics at bay, but the name lunatic was his wife, Winnie. But, you know, look, Mandela he's a good guy, but he also had his issues to contend with, too. I mean, everyone has ghosts in their closet that were skeletons in their closet. Be that as it may, South Africa is going the way of Rhodesia or Zimbabwe. Sad, man. And it's not just whites actually who suffer. Whites are, obviously the first, because when your skin color is your uniform, you can identify whites easily. This is why I always hate when the gays try to compare themselves to American blacks. If you're black, you can't pass. If you're gay, you could. It's just gays weren't rounded up and made slaves. I've always hated that. Well, we're just like the blacks. No, you're not, man. You're not like the blacks. The blacks in America were slaves. They were property. Jeez. Gays were not. I'm sorry. But when the skin color determines everything, and that is essentially your uniform, you can't pass. You will be noticed. And you'll be rounded up and hounded, which is what happens to whites right now. It happened to blacks before. It's horrible, but it is what it is. All right, so let's read this article. But it's also blacks who bear the burden here too. Because while we got some insane lunatics, not all blacks are insane lunatics. There's lots of people who just want to live. But as always, the lunatics rise to the top, and any Marxist organization, any drug dealing organization, any criminal enterprise, the ones who are willing to do the worst rise to the top, and they take out their opponents. It happens, and this is the same thing happened to ANC, Jacob Zuma. All right, so Prince Mashala, I'm not sure, and here's I got a picture of old Prince here. We'll see if we can't find him. I guess not. I thought we had a picture of him. All right, let's read this guy. It's just such a sad article. I mean, it's good. It's actually gripping in that you better be understanding what's happening here. And I think a lot of ignorant whites won't be. They'll say, "Oh, I don't want to be called racist under any stretch," and that it's freaking idiotic. But all right, let's read this. All right, think Nigeria, not Norway, when contemplating what life is likely to look like on the tip of Africa without drastic change soon. In the midst of political confusion that has gripped our country, many people are wondering if we will have come to the end of South Africa. The answer is simple. This thing called an end does not exist, not in the relation to a country. South Africa will be long after Jacob Zuma is gone. What Zuma has done is make us come to the realization that ours is just another African country, not some essential country on the southern tip of the African continent. During the presidency of Mandela and Thabo Mbeki, some among us used to believe that the black people of South Africa are better than those of other African countries. But we must thank Zuma for revealing our true African character, that the idea of the rule of law is not a part of who we are, and that constitutionalism is a concept far ahead of us as people. How else are we to explain the thousands of people who flocked to stadiums to clap hands for a president who has violated their country's constitution? Some people have no idea of constitutionalism. I just want to pause there for a second. I don't think this is, I'm not sure, Prince here, but you not know what's going on in Western world here, the Europe and America. Constitutionalism is being violated by white people all over the place. So I wouldn't have put this to say this is a black people thing. This is a powerful elite thing for sure. Now that we've reclaimed our place as another African country, we must reflect on and come to terms with our real character and imagine what our future portends. In a typical African country, ordinary people don't expect much of politicians because people get tired of repeated empty promises. In a typical African country, people have no illusions about the unity and morality of governance. People know that those that have power have used it for themselves and their friends and families. This is typical, not just African countries, man, I tell you. Here's an ANC supporter. The idea that the state is an instrument for people's development is a Western concept that has been copied by pockets of Asian countries. Africans and their leaders don't like to copy the West. They're happy to remain African and do things the African way. The African way is ruled by kings, chiefs, and indunas in a setting of unwritten rules. Is there anyone who has seen a book of African customary laws? The idea that a commoner can raise questions about public money spent on the residence of a king is not African. The ANC MPs, member of parliament, have been defending Zuma are true Africans. Asking a ruler to be accountable is a foreign Western idea. In a situation where there is a conflict between a ruler and laws, Africans simply change the laws to protect the ruler. There is no single white person this is why no single white person has called for King Dalinyiabo to be released from jail. I'm not sure who that is. The problem with clever blacks is that they think they live in Europe, whose ideas of democracy have been refined over centuries. I think this guy's giving whites way too much credit here, to be honest with you. I get what he's saying about his own, but trust me, I'm white as the day is long, and I look up among the Western democracies, and it's we need to come back to reality and accept that ours is an African country. Such a return to reality will give us a fairly good idea of what South Africa's future might look like. This country will not look like Denmark. It might look like Nigeria, where anti-corruption crusaders are an oddity. Being an African country, ours will not look like Germany. South Africa might look like Kenya, where tribalism drives politics. People must not entertain the illusion that a day is coming where South Africa will look like the U.S. Our future is more the side of Zimbabwe, where one ruler is more powerful than the rest of the population. Even if Julius Malema were to become president, it would still be the same. African leaders don't like the idea of an educated person, for clever people are difficult to govern. Yeah, I don't know about that. Mandela and Mbeki were themselves corrupted by Western education. Admission, this columnist is also corrupted by Western education. Zuma remains African. His mentality is in line with Boko Haram. He is suspicious against educated people, what he calls clever blacks. Remember, Boko Haram literally means against Western education. That's crazy. I did not know that. The people who think we have come to an end of South Africa don't realize that we've actually come to the beginning of a real African country, away from the Western illusions of exceptionalism. Those who are unsettled by this true African character need help. The best we can do for them is ask them to look north of the Limpopo River to learn more about governance in Africa. What makes most people restless about the future of South Africa is that they have Western models in mind, forgetting that ours is an African country. The idea that a president can resign simply because a court of law has delivered an adverse judgment is Western. Only the Prime Minister of Iceland does that. African rulers will never do that. Analysts said carefully, the notion of South Africa coming to an end is an expression of Western value system of accountability, political morality, reason, and so on. All these are lofty ideas of Socrates, Kant, Hegel, and so on. They're not African. So we must thank Jacob Zuma for introducing us to the real African Republican of South Africa, not some outpost of European values. Look, I don't know. I've never been to Africa. My man Skip Ritchie, who's a white guy, and he lived in St. Louis, and he's Skip Ritchie law firm, you know what I'm saying? But he's gone to Zimbabwe a number of times, and it's just different. He said the people are just different from the people here in terms of. I don't want to get too deep in this, but he was just said, look, it's different. And they do things differently. They operate differently than we do in the States. I'm not sure if it's white, black, African, Western, I don't know. But the tribal nature rings true, 100%. And it's just Skip. And I've heard this a number of times from other folks too, that there's more tribalism in Africa as opposed to the country, and certainly a different way to view things. That doesn't mean it's bad. That's the interesting thing. I'm not. Yes, the Renaissance and scientism and all that. That sounds good, but don't overlook the fact that we whites went on a rampage that have last century that have killed, millions upon millions of people throughout the world. And I'm not guilty by that, and neither should blacks be guilty for what blacks do or anything. That's stupid. But at the end of the day, hold on a second. At the end of the day, corruption and violence is not specific to a culture or genetics. I don't know what you call that. I do think some cultures have different ways of looking at things. And I think really has to do with the geography. If you're born in the cold of the north, as most white people are, you're probably good at hoarding things for the hard winter to come. You see what I'm saying? I truly believe that. If you're in a Mediterranean place, Italy or something like that, you might not be as prone to hoard things for the future because of the you don't get as bad weather. I think there's absolutely something to do with that. Blacks in Africa, I don't even know if they get snow. I don't know. But what I'm just saying, I could absolutely see that there's different genealogies, whatever it is, about culturalism that says, we have to prepare because the cold is coming, and a lot of white, and maybe Eskimos, maybe they're just like that too. I just don't know. But it would make sense, regardless of skin color, it's really geographic lineage that would say we are preparers, we are hoarders, or something like that, versus others who come from places where the climate is a little bit easier on the soul, essentially. I actually think that. I think one of the things that's happening in America with the flocking from the northern climes down to the southern climes is making a little bit of a softer society. I do believe that. And what I mean by that is that the winters, when you have to deal with a hard winter, this is going to sound bad. It toughens you up in that it makes you prepared for another hard winter, if that makes sense. Now, if you're native of a climb like here in Atlanta, this is irrelevant too. But I'm telling you, I think a lot of people that come from the north down here, I do think it makes them soft. Now, again, if you're native of Georgia, it's a whole. This is not your lineage isn't from the north. Your lineage is from the south, and so you're used to this, and you're able to adapt and overcome. Maybe the alligators that you see, the whatever it is, you see them, the humidity. If you're from the north, though, and you're used to dealing with winter times, you come down here, it's a different environment. And it's because there is no cold winters, I do think it softens a lot of those people up. I do. I remember when I lived in Phoenix, man, I'll never forget. I told my brother, this is, freaking going on 25 years now. I said, it just seems like because there's no hard winters, it makes me soft. I told him that. This is in 1998. It's just like, yeah, the winter's hot, but it's not the same. I'll never forget that. And because I was born in Maine, man. And when you're born in a cold place, and when the winters come up, you batten up the hatches and you prepare. And you don't have to do as much in the warmer climes. Now, again, if you're ignorant of how that works, it's different. I don't know. I just know I do think there's something to be said about that. I don't think I blame South Africa. I do. It sucks. I blame Marxism. It's not skin color, it's Marxism. And Marxism always and everywhere dooms everything that it touches. It's inevitable, man. It's just sad. All right. Love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you